Pastor Christine Allen, Strength of Love. Christine's playtime as a little girl consisted of setting up her play church and preaching to an imaginary congregation. Little did she know that her early experience would be the platform that would shape her later life. Her story can be summarized in a few phrases that have followed her throughout her life. She lost 2 daughters by the age of 2 to a rare autoimmune disease. She and her husband found their son dead in his tractor-trailer truck. She is also a cancer survivor who refused to allow that dreaded disease to take her joy. Her congregation is no longer imaginary. Her preaching is not falling on deaf ears, and her smile is genuine. Dr. Gail Hayes, if you don't know who you are, you won't know what belongs to you. Through the rigors and trials of her life experiences, she has survived the personal wrath of continuous and painful rejection, strained family relationships, lost friendships, and years of verbal abuse from the one that she pledged her life to eternally in marriage. She has dealt with the substandard and dysfunctional relationships with her mother, who often blamed her for her own feelings of insecurity and misfortune, and a frustrated father who never realized his dream of becoming a college athlete. The pregnancy of her mother with her at age 15 left scars that were never totally healed in this family, and instead of being proud of their daughter, Gail was the bane of their existence, literally. She was close to jumping off the ledge of life with the failed attempt at suicide, but this woman of God has weathered and withstood the harsh hands of time with stellar faith, taught by a loving and nurturing grandmother who held her face. Today, she is an executive leadership coach, successful author, and sought-after powerful speaker whose candid, electrifying, and engaging style of communication has placed her center stage before audiences of Fortune 500 companies and other global organizations. She is a bona fide and highly accomplished leader who works to empower other leaders. Gwen Simons, Behind the Mask. Whenever you see Gwen, there is always a smile like a ray of sunshine. She used to wear a smile to camouflage the emotional scars, the truth. Her smile was her mask. For most of her life, she felt unlovable and that she did not deserve to be happy. The domestic violence and abuse during her childhood lingered like a defect. Her marriage consisted of a spouse who was in denial about his alcohol abuse. She had no one to talk to and hid her shame from her family. She felt that she couldn't leave the destructive relationship and she didn't deserve any better. After spending a night in her car because of physical abuse and threats, it was time to make a change for the sake of her children and leave. Gwen was in a dark place and her smile dimmed. It wasn't until she had a personal relationship with Jesus for herself that her life turned around. She had to leave some affiliations, but now she can praise and worship God freely. Evangelist Dr. Hattie Jones Lofton, Journeys Through Seasons of Life. In June 1983, Hattie, her husband, and 3 children were in an automobile accident. About 10 miles from home, their car was hit by a drunk driver. The car went into the air, rolled over and over, and life changed in an instant. Hattie and her baby son were thrown from the car. Her body protected and shielded him from injuries, and they survived. There was blood all around Hattie, and the EMS attendant informed her that she had lost an ear. After a stay in the hospital and 250 stitches later, she was now disfigured and subjected to insensitive stares and whispers. 5 months after the accident, her mother died from cancer after only being diagnosed 1 month earlier. She was totally consumed with a sadness and a grief that led to deep depression. The Lord delivered her, called her into ministry, and made whole again. Evangelist Lofton is now ministering with zeal in revivals, conferences, worship services, and more, 45 to 46 weeks out of the year. In July 2014, Evangelist Lofton's first book was published, Lessons from Seasons and Times in My Life, Volume 1, and has sold over 1,200 copies. Mary Dickens, good and faithful servant. The rearing in a single-parent home taught Mary life skills and wisdom that carried over to her life today with a 29-year marriage and a blended family of 6 children. The test came at age 20 when her son Marcus was born and diagnosed with Down syndrome. Uncommon for a childbearer at her age, the doctors did not give her much hope, just to surround him with love. In-home therapy ensued, daycare, and Marcus attended school until he was 21. Marcus survived and thrived. 2 years later, Mary and her husband began adopting children at a time when they could have relaxed. Taking on the additional responsibility not only reflected Mary's servant heart, but also gave Marcus the opportunity to spread his love to siblings. Even though Mary's plans to travel have been put on hold, there are no regrets that she is still following God's plan. Karen Lassiter. Problems are not meant to be solved, but walked through. Karen grew up in a domestic violence household. For the majority of her childhood, she witnessed her loving mother endure emotional, physical, and mental abuse by her father while suffering in silence. These years of abuse took a toll on Karen emotionally. She became very attached to her mother and dealt with nervousness and related medical conditions. Her parents eventually separated when her mother could no longer endure the abuse. Today, Karen facilitates domestic violence workshops and anonymous small group sessions for survivors of domestic violence. During the peak of her career in information systems, Karen suffered significant health issues, which included 9 surgeries and 6 years of being unable to work. With her mother's unyielding spirit inside her, Karen did not succumb to this adversity. Through prayer, ministering, encouraging individuals struggling in their marriages, and feeling the loss of love, Karen envisioned and founded the Burning Flame Fellowship. This Christian organization facilitates workshops, topical studies, and small group fellowships for single, married, divorced, and widowed women. Karen has resolved that some problems are not meant to be solved. They are meant to be walked through. Shantina Green, I'm still here. Being a minister did not exempt Shantina from challenges. She struggled with low self-esteem and obesity growing up as a child and as an adult. She never felt good about herself and did not love who she was. After making a lifestyle change, she overcame her weight problem. After 2 years, a drastic loss of weight and pain in her abdomen produced a diagnosis of stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctors couldn't help because it had extended into her liver. Shantina took advantage of a brief pity party. She began to pray as Paul prayed with the thorn in his flesh. And each time God told her, "My grace is sufficient." It was through this scripture where resilience and Shantina started their journey, and she has not looked back. Nana Gogo, my story of faith. Nana was born in the Ivory Coast, West Africa. She was raised in a strict polygamist Muslim family and was subjected to harsh beatings. Nana was labeled the bad twin, the failure. Her attempt to commit suicide failed, as well as her attempt to satisfy her parents. She repeated the 11th grade twice and the 12th grade 3 times, even though she was among the 3 best students in the class. A disgrace to her family. Humiliation. To separate Nana from her Christian boyfriend, her parents shipped her across seas. In America, she was now free. Free to braid, to seek Jesus, own a Bible, get married to her boyfriend, and have children. Sounded good, but in the process of being in a new land and not speaking the language, it was frightening. Marriage ended in divorce that resulted in a stronger faith in God. Today, God has blessed Nana with 3 hair braiding shops, a taxi business, a mechanic shop, and her own hair care products. 3, 2, 1. Annie Baggett, the ultimate caregiver. After more than 30 years of working for others, doing what she loved, little did she know that retiring from her public job, she would find herself in a new role. While she never gave much thought to what life would be like after retirement, God's plan was at work. In 1994, her father died at the age of 92. Annie left her job due to a demotion based on a work injury that same year. Annie's mother was left alone after being married for over 60 years, so she became the primary caregiver and moved her into her home. Annie's church responsibilities and interests diminished and turned into caring for mom and a husband with failing health. Her life became cooking 3 meals a day, late-night meals, doctor appointments, cleaning beds in the middle of the night, diaper changes, and pharmacy runs. Through her own health issues, she persevered. She never stopped praying and successfully saw her mother reach age 100 while still in her care. Now at the age of 77, Annie, like her mother, will live out her best years yet. Sharon King, I Can't Give Up, I Won't Give Up. Sharon King has excelled at raising boys as a single mom and still had time to be an actress and attend college. After birthing 2 healthy boys, Sharon was faced with the news when she was 6 months pregnant that her baby would be born with spina bifida. For 3 months, she would drive almost an hour to visit Jordan in the hospital every day, stay until 1 a.m., get up the next morning, go to work, get off work, go to the hospital, and start all over again, determined to be there for her baby. She would tape herself singing and reading stories so the nurses could play it for Jordan during the hours she couldn't be by his side. Today, Jordan is 17 and is very independent. He is on the high school track team, played wheelchair basketball for the past 5 years, and plans to major in computer technology after he graduates this year. Jordan thinks it's cool being in a wheelchair. Sharon says people should be thankful for healthy children and not take them for granted. It's hard and can be difficult. I want to portray that person who does it all and set the example that if I can do it, they can too. Elisa Hunter, Hope for Elisa. Elisa Hunter is a 13-year-old fireball full of life who loves to sing. Elisa had to fight sickle cell disease when she was just 1 year old. Year after year, Elisa would be admitted to the hospital for pain management, blood transfusions, and acute chest syndrome. In the last 18 months, Elisa has overcome 2 heart procedures, steroid-induced diabetes, double knee surgery, septic shock, ditched the wheelchair, and the walker. Today, she is totally cured of sickle cell disease, riding her bike, and back to school for 2 hours a day. Elisa has an impending surgery for removal of her central line. Elisa lost a few friends while she was at the Ronald McDonald House, but she knew there was hope for Elisa, as evidenced by her Facebook page and the number of people who followed her story and continuously prayed for her. Elisa continues to sing. Simone Gardner, A New Beginning. Simone's vision of being a business owner was finally birthed after 5 years. The business grew by leaps and bounds from 2 employees to 50 in the states of North Carolina, Virginia, and South Carolina, with calls coming in from Tennessee and Ohio. The blessings were in great abundance, spiritually, financially, and a restored marriage. In less than 4 years, she lost everything. She had to close her business. Funding was lost. Unable to pay employees, families could no longer receive services. There were repossessed vehicles, and the love of her life walked out on her for the 3rd time. God has kept Simone through all of the tests and trials. She didn't lose her mind through this wilderness season. Simone says, in spite of my circumstances, He is still God. Through my pain, my brokenness, and in my stripping, God has produced a new creature. I will yet praise Him.